At what point does a band's evolution become a risk instead of a reward? That's the question I want to explore today as we take a deep dive into Reliance, the brand new album from Swedish progressive metal band Soen. And by the end of the review, I will answer whether this album represents growth, compromise, or something in between. Before we get into the details, let me briefly talk about my personal connection with this band. I first discovered Soen sometimes around 2019 with their album Lotus. That record immediately caught my attention because it reminded me of bands like Opeth and Tool, especially in the way it balanced atmosphere, heaviness, and emotional depth. After that, I remember listening to Imperial in 2021 and really enjoying it, even though I honestly can't remember if I officially reviewed it or not. What I do remember is clearly reviewing their 2023 album Memorial. That album showed a noticeable shift in their sound, leaning more towards accessibility while still holding on to their progressive roots. Over time, Soen's music has continued to change. They slowly moved away from the dense progressive metal and towards a more heavy rock focused approach. These days, I find them closer to bands like Evergrey than early era Opeth, and while that change might bother some longtime fans, I personally still enjoy what they are doing. Songwriting remains strong, and the more accessible sound does not automatically mean lower quality. I also spent time with the singles leading up to the album, and I enjoyed what I heard. But now, let's talk about the album as a whole. Reliance is the seventh studio album by Soen, released on January 16th, 2026 through Silver Lining Music. The album runs for about 43 minutes across 10 tracks, making it a fairly concise listen by progressive standards. Musically, the album continues Soen's transition towards a more heavy rock-oriented and accessible sound, moving even further away from the complex and layered prog metal of their early years. Lyrically, the album focuses on themes related to the human mind, heart, and soul, often exploring the tension between light and dark. Songs like Primal directly address societal frustration, corruption, and the suffocating grip of modern technology. From a production standpoint, the album sounds excellent. It was recorded and mixed by Alexander Backlund at Fascination Street Studios and mastered by Tony Lindgren. The production is clean, detailed, and polished and really highlights Joel Eklof's emotional vocal delivery, which plays a major role in how these songs connect. The lineup remains unchanged from Memorial, featuring Joel Eklof on vocals, Martin Lopez on drums, Lars Inokanund on keyboards and guitar, Cordelie Ford on lead guitar, Stefan Steinborg on bass. Now let's go through the album track by track. The album opens with Primal, the lead single. It makes a strong first impression. The song is built around heavy riffs, balanced with lighter atmospheric sections. The chorus is big, catchy, and memorable, and Joel's vocals sound powerful and confident. Soen is clearly trading some complexity for hooks here, but the songwriting is solid and it works. I really enjoyed this track, and I think it sets the tone for the album. Mercenary features some excellent doom metal style guitar riffs and a strong galloping rhythm. Once again, the song balances heavy and lighter moments and stays catchy without feeling lazy. The groove is tight, the chorus sticks with you, and this is another well-written track that shows how comfortable the band is in this newer sound. Discordia is one of the softer tracks on the album, but still packs weight when it needs to. Discordia includes atmospheric synth breaks, heavy breakdowns, and some really interesting drum patterns. Martin Lopez avoids standard rhythms here, which keep the song going and makes it engaging. The synth section reminded me a bit of Pink Floyd, and while the track leans atmospheric, there are still some crushing riffs scattered throughout. Axis feels closer to Soen's older sound and leads more into their progressive metal roots. The guitar work is more complex, but the song remains catchy and accessible. It still follows the heavy and light formula, but the riffs have more movement, and the track feels very memorable overall. Huntress proves that Soen can still deliver big guitar riffs. The verses are dreamy and melodic, while the chorus opens up into something more atmospheric and spacey. Joel's vocals sound smooth and emotional during the verses, and much larger during the chorus. I also really like the crunchy, distorted guitar tone, which helps balance out the softer elements. Unbound is one of my favorite tracks on the album. The heavy riffs remind me of Metallica's Black Album era, mixed with some modern metal influences, including bands like Ginger. The verse sections are heavier than usual for the album, but the melody never gets lost. The chorus is big, emotional, and memorable, and the song also includes some trippy Pink Floyd style moments as well. Indifferent is a stripped-back emotional ballad featuring the Atlantis String Quartet, mostly piano-based with orchestration, and does not begin with heavy guitar riffs like most of the album. Joel's vocals performance is very expressive and carries the song. It leans towards modern pop structure and feel. My only criticism is that the guitar solo is very brief, but overall, the song works well for what it is. After a softer moment, Drifter brings back the heavy riffs and spacey atmosphere. The breakdowns here are brutal, and the contrast between heavy guitars and electronic elements is very effective. This track fully embraces the heavy light formula that defines the album. The riffs, once again, reminded me of Ginger, especially in terms of rhythm and punch. Draconian explores themes of faith, isolation, and spiritual longing. It begins with a soft piano and vocals before exploding into big, crunchy riffs. The spacey interlude in the middle adds texture and atmosphere, and they transition back into the heaviness, which is handled very well. The album closes with Bellicore, an atmospheric track that slowly builds towards a melodic climax. It opens with choir sounds that feel almost medieval, like 16th century monks, which immediately sets a vivid mood. While it shares similarities with Indifferent, the track is more psychedelic and trippy. The guitar solo feels something pulled from 80s hair metal ballad, but it adds a surprising but effective twist. Now for my final thoughts, I'm going to say something similar to what I said for my review of Creator's Crushers of the World. There are going to be three types of listeners when it comes to this album. Some people will dislike it because they want Soen to sound like the early albums. Others will think it's just okay. And then there will be a third group who really enjoy this newer direction. As for me, I feel a bit torn. Let me start with the negatives. Many of the songs follow a familiar formula: heavy riff, a softer verse, melodic chorus, and repeat. While a few tracks break away from that pattern, it does become noticeable over time. However, the more I listen, the more I realize how much thought went into the arrangements. There are layers upon layers of sound here. The album is like an onion. You have to peel back the layers. With a good pair of headphones, you can hear subtle details that really enhance the experience. Songs are emotional, catchy, and easy to connect with, and despite my back and forth feelings, I kept coming back to it. I debated between a 7, a 7.5, and an 8, but after thinking about it, putting everything together, my final score will be 8 out of 10. Reliance feels like a grower and an album for listeners willing to accept that Soen is moving in a new direction. If you want to see my review on their 2023 album Memorial, I will stick it right here. Thanks for watching. This is JC Rockin' Metal Reviews. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do Rockin' Metal Reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.